When my own family told me there was no space for me after I'd just paid thousands of dollars for their dream vacation, I honestly thought it was some kind of sick joke. I remember standing in the middle of the airport, holding my suitcase, staring at them like I was in some twisted prank show, waiting for someone to yell, "Gotcha!" But no one did. They looked at me with blank faces, almost bored, as if I was a stranger who had wandered into their group by mistake. And the worst part, I had been the one who made that whole trip possible. Tell me honestly, what would you have done if your own family excluded you from something you paid for? Because I completely lost it. I still wonder if I went too far in the end, but after what they did, maybe I didn't go far enough. It all started a few months back when my mom called me out of nowhere one evening. We're not exactly close. She and my dad divorced when I was little, and she kind of drifted away from me as she started a new family with my stepdad, Greg. They had 2 kids together, my half, siblings Lily and Ethan, who are both younger than me. Over the years, our relationship was polite but distant. I'd send birthday gifts, attend family dinners when I could, but I never really felt like part of that family unit. Still, I always tried. I guess deep down I kept hoping they'd eventually include me like I mattered. So when Mom called and said they were planning a big family trip to Hawaii, my heart actually leapt. She said they'd always dreamed of going but money had been tight, and she hinted that if we could all pitch in, we might finally make it happen. Now, I'm not rich, but I've worked hard for what I have. I have a decent job in IT, make enough to live comfortably, and because I don't have kids or a partner right now, I have some savings. So I said sure, I'd help. Mom sounded so excited. She said something like, "You have no idea how much this means to us, sweetheart. We'll finally get to make memories as a family." And those words, as a family, they got me. I wanted that. I wanted to belong. We started planning. Mom handled the logistics, but I ended up footing most of the bill. Every time she'd call, she'd mention some unexpected expense that came up. An upgraded suite because the cheaper one was too small for everyone. Flights that needed to be booked fast before prices went up, excursions, rental cars, travel insurance. You name it, I paid for it. I even paid for matching outfits she wanted for a family photo day. In total, it came out to almost $9.00. I remember thinking it was steep, but she assured me we'd all be staying together in a gorgeous beach front villa that had plenty of room for everyone. She said I'd love it. The weeks leading up to the trip were full of messages and photos in the family group chat, everyone talking about how excited they were, sharing swimsuit options, counting down the days. I noticed sometimes they'd talk about plans without directly replying to my comments, but I brushed it off. I told myself I was being paranoid, maybe they were just busy. The morning of the trip, I got to the airport early, luggage ready, passport in hand, smiling like an idiot because I thought, for once, I was part of something. But then, I couldn't find them. I texted Mom, no reply. I called her straight to voicemail. Finally, I saw them across the terminal near the check-in desk. I waved and started walking over, but the moment she saw me, her expression changed. It wasn't excitement. It was panic. She quickly turned to Greg and whispered something. When I reached them, Greg stepped forward awkwardly and said, "Oh hey, about that, there's been a little mix-up." I asked what kind of mix-up. He wouldn't meet my eyes. That's when Lily, my teenage half-sister, blurted out, "There's no space for you." I laughed because I thought she was joking. I said, "What do you mean, no space? It's a 6-bedroom villa." Mom sighed, like I was being unreasonable, and said, "Sweetheart, please don't make a scene. It's just when we booked, the arrangements didn't include you in the final count. We thought you'd get your own place nearby or maybe stay with a friend." I swear my heart physically dropped. I said, "You thought I'd what, after paying for everything?" And she just gave me this look, this pitying, uncomfortable look, and said, "We're so grateful for what you've done, really, but this was supposed to be a family thing." I said, "I am family." And Greg said softly, "You are, of course, but it's just different, you know. It's complicated." I wanted to scream. They started boarding soon after, and I stood there like an idiot while the people I'd paid for walked away without me. I could hear the echo of Lily's voice saying, "There's no space for you," like some cruel mantra. I sat down on a bench and just stared at my phone. I thought maybe I'd get a call, maybe an apology, maybe someone would come back. No one did. After sitting there for almost an hour, humiliation turning into rage, I decided I wasn't just going to let this slide. I opened my email and checked all the bookings. Flights, villa, car rental. Since I'd paid, everything had been done under my account. Guess whose name was on every single confirmation? Mine. The airline tickets were all purchased with my card and linked to my frequent flyer account. The villa reservation, paid in full by me, listed under my name, with only guest slots for the others. Same with the rental car, and suddenly, something in me snapped. I called the airline first. I told them there had been fraudulent activity, and that the tickets needed to be cancelled immediately. They asked for verification, which I provided easily because it was my card. Then I called the villa management, and said I needed to cancel the reservation due to a family emergency. They tried to charge a cancellation fee, but I negotiated half back, the rental car cancelled, insurance refunded partially. Within 2 hours I had undone the entire trip. Now I'm not stupid. I knew they were already on their way to Hawaii, but they'd be landing to find out there was no car, no villa, and no prepaid bookings. I waited. Sure enough, about 8 hours later, my phone exploded with messages. First from Mom, then from Greg, then from Lily in full teenage meltdown mode. "What the hell did you do? We have nowhere to stay. We can't rent anything last minute. You ruined everything." I didn't even reply at first. I just watched the messages pour in, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and heartbreak. Finally, I sent one text, "There's no space for you." They called me non-stop. Mom eventually left this voicemail, half crying, half furious, saying I'd embarrassed them, that they'd have to cut the trip short, that I'd taken things too far. She said she couldn't believe I'd sabotage them like that after everything they'd done for me. I remember laughing bitterly at that. Everything they'd done for me. I paid for it all. They flew back home 2 days later, and the fallout was nuclear. Greg wouldn't even look at me. Lily and Ethan posted passive, aggressive stuff on Instagram about toxic people. Mom came over to my place unannounced, demanding I reimburse them for the inconvenience. I told her to get off my property. That's when she said the line that stuck with me the most. "You've just proven why we didn't want you there." I think that was the moment something inside me broke completely, so that's the situation I was in. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause for a second and really think about it. What would you have done in my place? You pay thousands for a family trip, get excluded, and then blamed for standing up for yourself. Would you have let it go? Comment below, because I genuinely want to know if I was wrong here, or if I just finally drew the line they've been daring me to cross for years. Anyway, after that confrontation, things between me and my mom's side of the family hit rock bottom. She tried guilt, tripping me, saying family doesn't do this to each other. And I said, exactly, family doesn't exclude someone who made everything possible. We didn't talk for weeks after that. But something strange happened. My dad, who I hadn't spoken to much in years, found out. Apparently, my mom had vented to him, thinking he'd side with her. He didn't. He called me and said, "Kiddo, I know you probably feel awful right now, but honestly, I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself." It was the first time in a long time someone actually said they were proud of me. Then he did something unexpected. He offered to take me on a trip himself. Just the two of us, somewhere peaceful, no drama. I said yes, and a month later, we spent a week in Colorado hiking, eating, talking. It was simple, but it meant more to me than any expensive villa ever could. That trip reminded me that not all family is defined by blood or titles. It's about who shows up. Meanwhile, Mom eventually tried to mend things, but not because she wanted to. It was because she realized I wasn't going to bankroll her anymore. She called and said she'd forgive me if I apologized and offered to make it up to them financially. I laughed so hard I nearly cried. I told her she should probably check with the credit card company, because I'd also reported the charges from her little surprise. Shopping spree before the trip turns out she'd used my info to buy family essentials. I froze her out completely after that. Months passed and I started to heal from the whole thing. But then something unexpected happened. Lily reached out. She messaged me late one night saying, "I didn't know Mom had asked you to pay for everything. I thought you just canceled to be petty. I'm sorry. It wasn't much, but it was something." We actually started talking a little after that. She even told me that when they landed in Hawaii and found out there was no villa, Mom tried to blame it on a booking error. But everyone in the airport could tell something was off. Greg yelled at her in public, and they ended up staying at a budget hotel miles away from the beach. I shouldn't have felt good hearing that, but I did. Since then, my relationship with them has been complicated. I keep my distance, but I've also learned to set boundaries. They can't manipulate me anymore. If they want something, I make them sign agreements. No more vague family favors, no more being the wallet. I've built a smaller, chosen family of friends who actually treat me with respect, and honestly, my life feels lighter without the constant guilt trips. Still, sometimes, late at night, I replay that airport scene in my head, the way Mom looked at me, like I was a problem to be solved, not a person who mattered. I think about all those years I spent trying to earn their love by paying for things, and I realize how backwards that was. Love isn't bought. It's shown in actions, in inclusion, in the small moments where people make space for you, not tell you there isn't any. Now, every time someone tries to guilt me with, "but they're family," I ask them, family means what, exactly? Because mine told me there was no space for me after I gave them everything. It usually shuts people up. Looking back, I don't regret canceling their trip. It was the first time I ever put myself first. It taught me that sometimes you have to let people face the consequences of their own cruelty. They excluded me because they thought I'd keep giving no matter what. Instead, I took away the one thing they valued most, my financial support, and suddenly I wasn't invisible anymore. If you've ever been in a situation where your family made you feel like an outsider, I hope my story reminds you that it's okay to walk away. It's okay to demand respect. You don't owe anyone endless forgiveness just because you share DNA. So, was I wrong for what I did? Or was that the only way to make them see me as more than a wallet? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear your take on this mess. And if you've ever had to cut off toxic family members, tell me how it went for you. Maybe we can help each other heal a bit. Anyway, that's my story. If you were on my side, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real stories like this, and don't forget to share your thoughts down below. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you all in the next story.